¿Te asusté? Está bien. Okay, so now we're going to have video número dos. And this one's going to be more of a specific explanation on things that you can do to just have your best success on the entrevista oral for IB. All right, so leading up to it, so, you know, in all the time that you have, especially the last couple of weeks before, what you can do is go back over any articles that we've read in class. Think about how those connect to those overarching themes. Remember, the entrevista oral has to be from the temas opcionales. So let's review those for a second, just in case you didn't watch the other video. Ciencia y tecnología, costumbres y tradiciones, diversidad cultural, ocio, y salud. All right. So anything that we've gone over in class, articles that we've read, if we any like news clip or anything like that at all, that could help inform you under one of those themes. Another thing you can do, and I might be making a Google Doc, no promises because time, but I might be making a Google Doc where I throw in links to like all the documents that, or all the articles that we've read. So, ojalá. Entonces, another thing that you can do, and what I always recommend, is that you just think strategically, right? Estrategia. You think strategically about the themes. You start looking up articles, not because I'm assigning them to you, not because you've got some assignment or test or anything like that coming up specifically over it, but because you want to be as prepared as possible. So you're being aggressive, assertive. You're going after it. And so you could search things by theme. So you could look up article, ciencia y tecnología, artículo. You could go to some of the ones that we always use, CNN Español, BBC Mundo, etc. And just kind of go through those tabs on the top and see what you can find. But you want to aggressively look up some things so that you have something to pull on. Because when you see those photos, there's no guarantee at all of what photos you'll have. And that means there's no guarantee at all of which theme or themes you'll have to choose from. But you just want to be as prepared as possible. You get as much as you can on those themes, the optional themes, and then hopefully one of the two that's in front of you is one that you feel pretty confident about, that you could definitely talk for a while about and answer some questions about. Then obviously you would go with that one, the one that you're strongest on. But you want to be across the board as prepared as possible. So look up new things specifically to just have something to authoritatively and authentically speak about. It's like we mentioned before in class, you don't want to rely on hyper-generalizations or stereotypes. That's the opposite direction that we want to go in the class for IB Spanish, right? So when you're uninformed and you're just kind of grasping at straws, then you're saying things like, esto es muy malo para todo de Latinoamérica, or en los países latinos, or en los países hispanohablantes, or whatever. You're making things up, basically, or you're relying on something you heard or saw your mom tell your uncle or something like that that has no business being in the IB interview. And so you want to have something that you can actually authoritatively talk about with specifics, tie it to specific country or countries if possible, be able to compare that issue with some other country or countries with los Estados Unidos. Practice as much online with friends, conmigo, listening and speaking. You want to be comfortable speaking when you're doing your reading for your Español en Acción logs. Like I said before, read out loud some of the time, at least as much as you can, because just reading out loud helps you get comfortable with producing Spanish. Everybody's at different levels on their anxiety with producing Spanish and things like that, but reading out loud is a really easy way to just get fluid, get loose with that, make that strong connection between what you're thinking, seeing, and producing. Con la boca, okay? Entonces, review all your tenses. Go back through your paquetes de estudio, etc. You know, different things we posted. You can, you know, come in during seminar and look at one of the textbooks and just go back through the tenses. Especially think, again, assertively, strategically, aggressively. What kinds of things do I want to be able to do in the entrevista? You want to make sure that you're showing mastery of tenses. That's just a piece of everything, but nonetheless a mechanical piece that helps the interview take place. I want as the interviewer, or the interviewee, if I were you, I want to be able to show control, mastery over some of those higher level tenses. Think about tense pairings. Remember parejas, which tenses tend to go together when you're doing those kind of complex sentences. El imperfecto subjuntivo, el imperfecto del subjuntivo con el condicional, right? When you had those situaciones hipotéticas. Si el gobierno pasara una ley para proteger tal, entonces podríamos, whatever the case is. So think about how those pair together. El futuro con el presente, right? Si no resolvemos estos problemas, en el futuro tendremos que blah, 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 right? So think about what are all the tenses, how do they go together, think ahead, what are some kind of go-to phrases that I want to be able to just throw out at a moment's notice. Also think about, well, review the green cardstock sheet, the one that has the palabras de transición, helpful words, transition words. Make sure you're familiar with those, basic ones like porque all the way to, aunque and things like this that maybe you haven't used as much. You want to really think about explaining to someone that you don't know something, right? Because in an interview setting, even someone who is super prepared for an interview en la vida real, right? They don't necessarily know every single question is going to get thrown at them. What are they going to say whenever maybe they don't have the right information? Are we going to make stuff up? Are we going to generalize? Are we going to assume? No. Okay? What we are going to do is in Spanish and español, we're going to say things like, I'm not sure about that detail, but I can say that and keep going, right? I'm not sure about that because here's what causes me to not be able to answer that, and I keep going and I'm saying the whole thing in Spanish. I don't go, and I don't make stuff up, okay? How do you say, I think that, I believe that, due to, according to, because again, you want to specifically refer back to some of those actual articles that you read or things that we saw, the cortometrajes in class. Maybe you got, something you could pull from one of those. Think about el circunloquio, right? That circumlocution. Just like you would do with every chapter with your definiciones that you write. How can you describe something without having the word itself, right? So if you have to describe, let's say, this is an easy one, but let's say you can't remember the word presidente, and so maybe you can say el líder o el jefe del país, or something like that. Let's say you can't remember, I'm trying to think of a good one. Let's say you can't remember cultura, which of course you would, but let's say you can't remember cultura and you start talking about las diferencias de las personas en diferentes países, etc. How we break things apart into prácticas, productos, perspectivas, right? You could describe those things. So these are just examples, and odd and not great ones because I'm just coming up with them, but think about, how you describe people. When you're doing your definitions, you've got a person like, let's say teacher, right? And so you say la persona que da lecciones de clase, or la persona que enseña a los estudiantes, etc. Right, so figure out a way, get used to, think about, go back and look through some of your definitions. How do I describe a thing, a place, an action, an adjective, these different things whenever I'm struggling or whenever I don't have access to this word? Because in real life, even if it were your first language, you might forget a word sometimes, or you might just kind of get tripped up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, so you want to be practicing that because you don't want a situation like that where you're trying to say something, maybe you're thinking through in English first, which is still natural for a lot of you at this level, but you're struggling on, again, constructing it in that way in Spanish, and so instead of letting that derail you and you're just like, I quiero, which does happen sometimes, to avoid that, you practice. How do I redirect, because that's what circunloquio really is, right? Keep going. Don't let it stop me. I do what I can to keep going, all right? I get my point across, más o menos. Okay, so on that note, you do everything you can to keep going en español, ¿sí? All right, so no inglés. No me vayan a hablar en inglés, por favor. No se acepta nada de inglés. All right, so everything that you can in Spanish only. Now, sometimes, your brain is figuring things out, and you might be fairly confident that something is a cognate, and you just go with it. That's not the end of the world. That's fine, okay? But basically, you say what you know, and when you don't know, when you're really unsure, you don't keep trying to make that come out somehow. You redirect. You use that circumlocution, and you say something else that you can, or if you just really get backed into the corner, you just say también, and then you move on to your next point. Okay? So do not make up words. Do not say words in English. And don't say things as if they're a question to me. Sometimes in the interview setting, whenever people aren't sure, they'll be saying what they're wanting to say, and they'll look at me, and they'll be like, trying to think of a good word, say diversidad, and let's say they're not sure if that's really the right word or not, and they'll be like, y diversidad? Like they're asking me, should I be saying this word right now? Okay, no hagas eso, por favor. Don't do that. You just say what you're going to say, okay? In class, when we're doing different activities, I'm there to help. You can double check things with me, all that kind of stuff. On the interview, you are as authoritative as you can be. I can't be the role of the teacher there. I'm the role of the interviewer, okay? So don't say things as a question to me, hoping that I'll confirm that for you or something, because I can't. I won't be doing that, okay? Okay, on the day of, I think I said this before, but get there early, please, like 10-15 minutes early. And part of that is to make sure that I'm not waiting on you, because if you're late, then you're likely going to make the next person late, and so on and so forth, and it's just, dominoes. But also because, like I said, I'll have that little study table set out, and you can get some last-minute thoughts in there, something like that. And then in terms of between the two entrevistas, because you've got your práctica y la oficial, so I will try to give you some specific feedback right then and there, right after the práctica, right after the mock interview. But if I can't, time-wise, if we're just too late or something like that, I'll give you some kind of feedback regardless. And so then what you do in between is you think, okay, well, I know that on my official interview, I'm not going to see the same pictures. I'm not going to necessarily have the same themes. That may or may not be, similar themes, but just different pictures, or it might be totally different. You never know. But I'm still thinking, okay, I'm going to learn from that. What was something that maybe I got stuck on? Look it up, or ask Senor Duton or whatever. What was something that I tried to say and I just didn't really say it right? Was there a tense that I realized, oh man, I'm not really 100% on that tense, on those conjugations, something like that. Also, continue to keep looking at more articles, being as informed as you can, so that again you're speaking from authority. You're not generalizing. You're not making things up. You're not stereotyping. And at the end of the day, just breathe in, breathe out. It'll happen. It'll be over, and then life will go on. I haven't had anyone die in the interview setting, so I don't anticipate that to happen. But you'll be better off for it, and it'll be a really good sort of stepping stone for you as you continue to work on your fluency, and it'll be part of your IB score that'll come out in the summer. So you definitely need to just give it your very best effort and give it your full attention when you're doing that, getting ready for that. And I'm here for you any way I can. There's certain things that I can and can't do in the interview setting itself, of course, but just let me know if there's anything I can do for you. Paz y amor.